Welcome back to my garage. Today on the workbench I have my 1996 Santa Cruz Heckler. I'm not actually going to do a walk around on this one today. It's built, but it's just kind of a mock-up right now. It's not how things are going to be. But really what I need to do today is replace the pivot bearings down here and rebuild my Fox float shock. So that's what I'm going to be working on today. Hopefully I can edit this down so it's not a long boring video, and then maybe tell you a little bit about this bike. This is my first real full suspension bike. I've had it for a little while, hasn't got a lot of ride time. I had a ProFlex before this that wasn't nearly as good. But we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so I've removed the wheels to make everything a bit easier, but to access these pivot bolts, I'm going to have to pull off this crank. So I have my Allen key and my Park tool crank remover, so I'm going to get those off real quick and get that out of the way. Okay, so now that that crank has been removed, I have access to the bolt holding my pivot bushings, my pivot bearings in place. I'm going to also have to unbolt here so that I can get to the shock and actually get this moved around to get to that bolt. And then to move things around, I also have to unbolt this bracket here. So those are coming off next. Okay, so I've removed that brace off the swing arm and I've unbolted the shock, as you can see, and I've actually loosened up the bolt that holds the pivot bearings in place. And so I just need to pop this out, and it's loose. I'm going to have to work on popping that out, and then I can show you how I replace the bearings. Okay, so here is what came out. It's just a kind of an aluminum bolt, and then I can lift this off, and I have already loosened these bolts, and these bearings just pop out. There's a little bit of a lip, so they don't just pop out easy. But there it is. This is the old bearing. It doesn't move real well. It is a 1 1/8 by 3/8 by 3/8 is the size, and you can just use standard bearings. So here's the new one, and it just pops in there. Pop out the other old one. These do stick. Sometimes it's good to just stick a flathead screwdriver in there and wedge it open a little bit, but I might have to do that. Okay, the bushings or the bearings, I mean, are both in. I have my Fox float kit here to replace all the seals and re-oil it. So before I do everything back up, I just want to service the shock while it's in here. So I've already let the air out of the shock, and now I just need to unscrew the can. Okay, so I just ended up removing the whole shock. It just was easier. While it was still on the bike, I went ahead and loosened the can because I don't have a vise right now to hold it in to loosen the can. So now it's just a matter of undoing everything and replacing all the seals and re-oiling. So I have my kit. I'm going to go ahead and take it apart, and I'll let you see the insides. It's nothing too exciting. And here we have it all taken apart. There's the air can. There's some seals in there that I'm going to pop out and replace. And I'm going to take off these two nylon bushings and this seal and replace that seal, and just put it all back together and put it back on the bike. It's pretty simple. Okay, so now all the sills are replaced and I've managed to get it back together, so now I'm just going to bolt it back onto the bike. Pretty simple job. Okay, I got the first side in. Now I just need to, whoops, hate it when I do that. Get the other side in. And then I can tighten up all the bolts. There we go. Okay, so everything's back together. We got the shock installed, we got the pivot bearings installed, got the crank arm put back on. I just want to say thanks to Drew Little for helping me out with that rear triangle. I'd broken the original rear triangle, and he gave me a good deal on this replacement, and so now I'm going to air up the shock and get the wheels back on and see how it rides. So hopefully you found this video helpful or informative. Give me a like, give me a comment in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.